US President Donald Trump seems to have made inroads into the Indian American vote bank. Donald Trump has spoken about his close relationship with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on multiple occasions. He has appeared at two large public events over the past year. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was welcomed by a crowd of 50,000 people in America's Texas, and Donald Trump was greeted with a warm namaste by 125,000 Indians in Ahmedabad. Aside from cultural and political diplomacy, the two events showcase the bonhomie between the two leaders. And this seems to have worked to impress the Indian American voters before the 2020 elections. The 4 million Indian Americans are a small part of the population there, but they are financially affluent and increasingly politically active. However, a recent survey has sent out worrying signals to the Republican Party that the support of this influential ethnic community can no longer be taken for granted. A non-profit member organization of global Indian diaspora called Indiaspora and Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders Data have released a joint report on Indian American voters' attitude for the upcoming November elections. Let's break it down for you. According to the survey, 66% of Indian Americans currently favor Vice President Joe Biden. 28% favor the Republican President Donald Trump, and 6% voters are undecided. The 77-year-old presidential nominee has scripted history last month by selecting Senator Indian origin Kamala Harris as his running mate. Asian Americans used to be a reliable Republican voting bloc, but the support seemed to have shifted to the Democratic Party after Joe Biden's vice presidential decision. The Asian American vote bank includes Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean and Vietnamese. Notably, in the 2016 presidential election, 77% voted for former U.S. Secretary Hillary Clinton and 16% voted for Donald Trump. There are a lot of Indian Americans, majorly in the key battleground states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Florida and North Carolina, among others. The diaspora, in conjunction with other Asian Americans, could certainly be a part of the tipping factor as far as the November election is concerned. Susan Tehrani from New York sent us this report tracking the very latest.
And now, a few words from the
With less than 2 months to go until the U.S. presidential elections, a new survey finds that 66% of Indian Americans favor Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, compared to 28% who prefer President Donald Trump. 6% are still undecided. Some 1.8 million Indian Americans are eligible to vote this year, and their vote is crucial. Many live in contested states like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Issues most important to them are education, jobs, and the economy, as well as health care. However, despite what polls indicate today, Donald Trump's 2016 surprise victory weighs heavily on nervous Democrats' minds as well as hopeful Republicans, as both sides know that in this last leg of the presidential elections here in the United States, anything can happen. Susan Tehrani from New York for WION. World is One.
And earlier we spoke to our correspondent Nick Harper from Washington, D.C. on the importance of the Indian American vote bank in the upcoming November elections. This is what he shared with us.
He has certainly tightened that lead that Joe Biden has on him. As you mentioned, that demographic data from 2016, I think really shows that Asian Americans historically side with Democratic candidates. They haven't been throwing their weight behind President Trump in either 2016 or in this upcoming 2020 election. But as you mentioned, there's also a lot of Asian Americans in those swing states, the battleground states, which will be very important important. I just wanted to pull out one statistic from this recent survey. It showed that 14% of Asian Americans in total, including Indian Americans, 14% are undecided. That is a huge number that both Donald Trump and Joe Biden will be looking to, because the Asian American racial group in the US is the fastest growing bloc of both voters, and they were also the bloc with the highest turnout in the 2018 midterm elections. However, surprisingly, there often isn't much outreach to these communities. In America, we so often talk about the African American vote, the Jewish vote, the Christian vote, but there isn't perhaps as much attention paid to the Asian American vote, which is surprising when you consider that it is that fastest growing racial ethnic bloc in the United States. And there is still a large number of people out there who are undecided. President Trump, as you mentioned, his close ties with Mr. Modi, and also Kamala Harris being chosen as the vice presidential running mate for Joe Biden. Both of the candidates are clearly courting the Indian vote, and they'll be looking to that 14% of undecided voters, because it could be it's one of the deciding factors in this upcoming election, when both of them are very much scrambling to get every single vote that they can.